How come you're here? Hey. We've reached the end of the line. The end of the original run. And the end of Miura's run. And on that note, as an end to his Berserk, this was absolutely amazing. It really could have ended here, and I would have been fine with it. If they had never decided to pick it back up and continue without him, I would have been all right. And I know all the idiots in the world and online that want to talk about this, my opinion really doesn't matter. But I'm just saying. And honestly, in a way, it kind of does end here, because if you think about it, it's never going to be the same. And I haven't actually gone forward yet and read any of the newer stuff, so I don't know how different it is. But just due to the nature that he's gone, it says that it's just not going to be the same without him. It's not possible. And also, what a horrible place in the story for another author to have to try and take over. Right? I mean, I could only imagine how daunting of a task this is. Like anyone, even his friend, who looked at this and said, oh, like, oh my gosh, like, of the ending scene, how do you take that, how do you take even one step forward from that scene without the guidance of Miura? I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine. Anyway, Guts comes inside with the little moonlight boy climbing around on his head. And he's just like, found him out there. And I just want to point out just how comfortable Guts is with this little kid climbing around on his head like it's absolutely no big deal. And I really want to point out that is not only a testament to just how used to this boy popping up all the time they have become, and also Guts' growth as a character in general. I don't care how comfortable he is with kids popping up. Berserk a couple volumes ago never would have let a child crawl around on his head for any reason whatsoever. Can you imagine the Black Swordsman with a kid on his head? Get out of here. But we're there now, and we're ready for it. He's ready for it, and we as readers are ready for it. I'm ready for it. I got like this legit warm, fuzzy feeling with just seeing Guts with a kid on his head, and Guts looked natural with him there. It looked appropriate, and it looked like we were ready for this to happen for Guts' character and in Guts' life and transformation. It was such a good feeling. It really, really, really was. Anyway, Shirka then goes straight into, well then, oh, see, you're clearly the Flower Storm Monarch. And I'm like, what? Which is a real leap for her. I mean, the last time that we were on the boat and the little boy went away, she was hypothesizing that the kid was a secret emissary for the island. And now that we're here and the boy shows up again, he's not an emissary anymore. He's just magically the ruler of the island now. And I'm like, where did that transition come from? I don't know. Logical leap on her part that I didn't, just right out of left field. Which of course Danon walks right in and says, who's this? So I guess that's settled. It's not her. Also, can we all just pause for a second and appreciate just how Guts literally flips the kid over his head before setting him down on the ground gently? It's little panels like that that make this wonderful. Anyway, he asks him to take the little boy to go see Casca, which they do, and he goes straight to her as usual. Then they go ahead and explain to Danon that he shows up every full moon and sticks to Casca like glue. Shirka then explains that she thought it was him that was the reason why the Elf Island knew to expect them. Danon says, no, I actually knew to expect you because I was told by Flora, but I can see why you would think that, because the boy is no mere child of man. He has an awe of innocence that surrounds him, almost like that of the elves. And then she goes on some like really long-winded explanation of how it was possible for him to get to the island. And to be quite honest, I don't think any of it matters. Like anything she just says here, I don't think any of it matters. Not only that, I think she might just flat out be wrong. Hear me out. Like she goes on this because he's innocent. He was able to make it to the island, but he was only drawn here by you, but because you wore my clothes and you were on the island and he was drawn to you and he was innocent and you were wearing my clothes, that's how he was able to enter the island. But wait a second. And maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like none of that even matters. Okay, that might have been the case before. Like, all of that criteria might have had to have been met in the past. But now we know that after the Griffith wave has went through everything, and the astral worlds and the physical worlds have been joined together, that literally anyone can just stumble onto the island and make it on there no problem. That is why they were literally setting up booby traps to keep the normal people out, because they no longer had a magical barrier separating the island from the normal world. Also, we know that the little boy, because the last time he left, we saw him leaving, traveling on the branches of the world tree, so he can travel on the branches of the world tree. We didn't know that that's what he was doing at the time, but now that we've seen Griffith and his troops travel on them, now we know that you can travel on them. And if we look back at that last chapter, that's exactly what the little kid was doing. So we know that the kid can literally travel anywhere he wants to in the blink of an eye. So therefore he could have traveled here in the blink of an eye. And literally any old drunk bastard stumbling around in the ocean could have tripped onto the island. It's not like it's a special place anymore that you can't get to. That's a long way of saying I don't feel like that explanation was necessary at all. The only thing she really says that I'm like, absolutely, is he's drawn to Guts and Casca. And she also says that Shirka and Farnace have a strong presence, involvement, and I say no, sir, to that. I don't know why I just called her a sir, but I say no to that. I don't think they have a damn thing to do with it. I think it's Guts, and I think it's Casca. And we're going to find out why here in about 5 seconds. But it does end with this panel of Guts sitting and staring up at the night sky, and it is just one of those panels that you have to stop and stare at for a little while. It is one of those things that I just am held in awe of Miura and his ability to draw some of these moments, some of these quiet moments. And I am always drooling over these quiet moments. I always stop to talk about them. I love them so very much. I love this one so very much. And then that is going to ultimately transition into this real day in the life kind of section of the manga, where the little boy just kind of exists there on the island with them for a couple of days. And it's almost like this nice little happy montage style section with the little boy and the group. And he's going to go hunt mushrooms with Shirka. And he's going to go fishing with Isidro and the Little Mermaid. And Danon's going to point out again that there's not an ounce of malice in this little boy. And they keep making it a point to tell us that this little boy is harmless. Every time he shows up, they make it a point to tell us just how harmless and, oh, he's so free of malice and everything like that. Which to me, every time they do it and every time they say it, just screams, this boy is anything but harmless. That's just the most obvious foreshadowing to me that he's look the f*** out for this guy. You right? And now we see a shot of Casca with the little boy, and Farnace and Shirka even make the comment that they actually look like a mother and her child, like a real family. And then we get the whole scene with the little boy stealing Guts' armor, which is super cute as well. And it ends with Guts telling him to go spend some time with Casca. And we get our last shot of her with the kid, and her thinking just how natural it feels. Just like the moonlit beach where I met him. No, I knew him before even then. But from where? And now we know. And it all makes sense. The little boy is the demon baby. The reason that Casca and Guts and the little boy feel like a family is because they are a family, literally, in every sense of the word. And he feels like innocence because he is innocence. But he's also dangerous because he's also Griffith. This is why all the characters in the story that have ever come across him always say, oh, he's completely free of malice and he feels so innocent and he embodies innocence. He is, to his core, pure innocence. And me, on the other side of that coin, every time I see him going, something's wrong with this kid run the other way. It all now makes sense. It all is so perfect. Like, oh my God. Okay, and when Griffith formed with the demon baby and merged together into one, now Griffith once a month on the night of the full moon transforms into the little moonlight child, which is the embodiment of the demon baby, or his inner innocence. Not Griffith's innocence, because Griffith doesn't have any innocence, the demon baby's innocence. But he has to revert back to that form because they are one and the same, and they share a same body now. It's like, oh my God, I get it now. It makes so much sense. And I didn't put it together. Not a bit. I'm not even gonna sit here and pretend like, oh, I figured that one out before it happened. They gave us all the clues. They gave me all the clues. I had everything I really needed to kind of piece it all together before this happened, but I didn't. And I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad that it was one of those things that just kind of like when the revelation hits, I'm like, I love it. Like, it was just the best, most satisfying thing to read I have read, oh my gosh, in all of Berserk. Maybe I just said that really quickly. I haven't really thought that one through. But, oh, it's up there. Oh my gosh. It was just so well done, so well executed, so well foreshadowed, but at the same time kept it just far enough away from you that you didn't really fully grasp it, or at the very least I didn't. I can't explain how much this was the greatest thing ever. As far as setup, execution, and payoff, it couldn't have worked better. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Oh, anyway, also, I do want to say something here. Is it just me, or does anyone else think that this is shockingly similar to Naraku of Inuyasha? Okay, so in Inuyasha, Naraku is the main bad guy. He's also a demon that is forged together by creating his body from like demons and a man named Onigumo. And because he has Onigumo's heart inside of his body, he then has this affection for and is drawn to one of the main female characters, Kikyo. He also cannot harm Kikyo because of the fact that he houses Onigumo's heart within himself. Griffith has forged and combined with the demon baby who now lives within himself, and he is compelled to save Casca when she is, oh God, under some falling rocks, not because he wants to, but because the demon baby inside of him compels him to. Once a month, on the night of the full moon, Griffith becomes powerless because he transforms into the moonlight child. Once a month, on the night of the new moon, actually, that's Inuyasha who becomes powerless, because once a month on the night of the full moon, he becomes powerless. I just wanted to say that there is a monthly moonly cycle in Inuyasha, actually due to the nature of how Naraku was created and the fact that he was forged from demons and a human. He actually gets to pick the time where he becomes powerless. But I just wanted to point out that there is also a lunar cycle within Inuyasha that is very similar to the lunar cycle that happens inside of Berserk. Just illustrating a similarity. Also, one of the first things that Naraku does when he removes Onigumo's heart from himself is goes and strangles Kikyo to test to see how effective removing the heart was. I don't bring any of this up because I'm trying to diss Berserk in any way, shape, or form. I just couldn't help but notice the similarities in these two main characters and the forging of the demons with human parts and those human parts creating bonds with female characters. I don't mean any disrespect to either of these two stories. I just couldn't help but notice the similarities. And I don't know enough about Japanese writing tropes to know if they are pulling from a similar trope, or if they're pulling from a similar mythology, or if possibly Berserk was influenced by Inuyasha due to the fact that it's older, or if it's all just coincidence, because it's actually kind of similar for it all to be coincidence. It feels like that's a stretch, but it's possible. Look, either way, the execution on this one in particular was perfect. I absolutely loved it, and I personally cannot think of a better way that they could have ever brought Griffith back to Guts, back to the moment where we're now together and we're going to ultimately end face to face, right? And he's back, and he came alone. Just him. Oh! Anyway, Casca wakes up after the realization of who this boy is. And the boy is missing. She looks out the window and he's out there with Guts behind him. And then she goes running.
Casca?
I was dreaming. On nights of the full moon, I'd become a small child and find myself embraced by nostalgic warmth. But when I wake from the dream, all that remains is a faint sense of loneliness. That too soon fades away, along with a single tear, like morning dew.